currently in the city center of Dublin, about to take a tour. It's pretty awesome out here. So far, so good.
Depending on where you're from, but there you go. Something to look out for. That guy over there giving a tour, in a couple of minutes time, he's going to incite a round of applause for himself. Right? Keep an eye out, we might see it, it might happen. That's the other company, that's the rival. At the very important date in Irish history, 1170, is the date of the first Norman conquest in Ireland. So this is the first time that the English come to Ireland. And they also choose Dublin Castle as their main seat of power here. So King Henry II leads the first conquest of Ireland, but the castle, the first stone castle, was built here between 1210 and 1220 by King John. Have you seen Robin Hood? King John, right? That's the King John we're talking about. To that, in the early 18th century, they rebuilt much of the castle and some of the walls that we'll see as we go through. To give you a bit of backstory, the oldest surviving part of the castle is this tower here. This is the Records Tower, and it's built in the early 13th century by King John, the only surviving part of the Norman castle. So if anyone wants to touch anything that's 800 years old, this is your chance. So when the Romans sent some scouts over to Ireland, they found that Ireland too was overrun with these Celts and Picts. Okay, and they just went, not having this. Perhaps more importantly, they also found that Ireland was freezing cold and that it rained all the time. The climate didn't support, the growth of olives or grapes or any of these things that the Romans were accustomed to. So they just went, fuck this place. We're going back. Claudius, we're going back. And here's one for the Game of Thrones fans. They called Ireland Hibernia, which is the land of eternal winter. I used to ask people to guess what this was from above, but everyone used to guess it was a racing track for leprechauns, so I fucking stopped. What this is, if you look at it from above, it's an ancient Celtic symbol that means welcome. So what they use this for now is a helipad for state visitors. So we had, in the past couple of years, we've had Barack Obama, Queen Elizabeth II, when Angela Merkel comes here to tell us how much money we owe your country, they land them here, helipad, and then bring them round the corner into the state apartments. They give them a bowl of shamrocks. The entire country winces with embarrassment, and they drink more tea than you could ever imagine. So what we're standing in now, really, 1922 onwards, Dublin Castle is just a ceremonial site. So what we're standing in now is the most expensive and elaborate tea room in all of Ireland. Right? But of massive historical significance, obviously. So I mentioned this is an ancient Celtic symbol, but it's also often attributed to St. Patrick because it looks like two snakes weaving in and out of each other. St. Patrick, it's said, drove the snakes out of Ireland. You ever heard this before? Now, it's scientific fact that we've never had snakes in Ireland. Ever, right? The snakes are a metaphor for pagans, or paganism. So not a very flattering analogy or metaphor if you're a pagan. But St. Patrick is our patron saint, obviously. He's also our most famous adopted Irishman, because St. Patrick was neither Irish nor was he religious, okay? St. Patrick was from Wales, and he's captured in the 5th century by Irish pirates and brought here. See, like, the old historical narrative is that Ireland was its own happy little country and England came over here completely unprovoked and just ruined it. It wasn't quite that easy. It actually was provoked, I suppose you could say, because through the 4th and 5th and 6th centuries, it wasn't uncommon for Irish raiding parties to go to England, to go to Wales and capture people, bring them back here to Ireland as slaves. So you could kind of say that Ireland started it, but England were just much, much better at it. Like, oh, capturing people as slaves, you bang, 750 years of brutal oppression. Place with points and things and throwing taco cheese chips all over themselves. And we have a parade, and they dye the River Liffey green, but the River Liffey is really dirty, so it's always green, so no one really notices and all this kind of thing. But St. Patrick is our patron saint and all that stuff, and it kind of helps to spread the whole idea of Irishness across the world subsequently. I mean, everywhere that you're from, wherever you guys are from, Switzerland, Belgium, Germany, all over the place, whatever city or town you live in, is there an Irish pub there?
Yes.
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 You know what I mean? This is one of the reasons, St. Patrick, and how bloody marketable he is. The Catholic Church are marketing masters.
This is apparently the oldest street in Dublin. Yeah, that's one thing we definitely don't have in America. It's like this fucking like long ass history, you know?
The reason there's two of them, or more to the point, the reason they're so close together is because Christchurch was built inside the wall of Dublin and St. Patrick's outside the wall of Dublin, okay? Now, one of the major differences between the two of them is Christchurch Cathedral has a crypt down underneath where they keep all the bodies, and Patrick's Cathedral doesn't. So what this means is if you're lucky enough when you die to be buried in St. Patrick's Cathedral, they'll bury you in the floor or they'll bury you in the walls, okay? And you're doing quite well for yourself if you get into the walls of St. Patrick's Cathedral. You're obviously quite a wealthy person. They don't do this anymore. The reason for this is because in the 1930s they started to have explosions in the wall of St. Patrick's Cathedral because of a build-up of methane gas from all of these bodies. So they had to exhume them all. It's quite literally a couple of bricks would displace themselves and a bit of a body would pop out of the wall at you. How's it going, kind of thing? So imagine for a second that you're a child in 1930s Dublin and your parents have said, go to church, go to mass, go up to Holy God's house and say a few prayers. And just as you're sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I was out playing football with my friends. I fucking hate this. I wish I wasn't in church. And having all these terrible blasphemous thoughts. A body pops out of the wall at you. You would go to church every day. The idea is that Irish Catholic power is waning and their influence is growing smaller and smaller over time. Now, what this does, it has a weird inadvertent effect on Irish society. The whole idea of Irishness and Catholicness become intrinsically linked. The more Irish you are, the more Catholic you are, the more Catholic you are, the more Irish you are. Now, just to clarify, this is a very misconstrued version of Irish history because anytime there's a surge for Irish nationalism, that's led by both Catholics and Protestants. Some of the leading Irish nationalists or Irish Republicans through history have been Protestants. People like Theobald Wolfe-Tone, Henry Grattan, Charles Stewart Parnell, John Redmond, all Protestants. Nevertheless, Irish Catholicism becomes an intrinsic part of the Irish identity. Okay, so by the time 1922 rolls around, when Ireland becomes a free state, the Catholic Church has massive amounts of power in Ireland. It really is impossible to exaggerate how much power the Catholic Church had in this country up until very recently. Now, in some cases, there's even stories of the Irish government were going to pass a law or push a bill through, and the Catholic Church objected to it, so they just abandoned the idea. Yeah, you've got this. The country has changed a lot in the past 20-25 years, and the Catholic Church has suffered a nosedive in decline in popularity in this country. There's a phenomenon called, which I would call Irish Catholicism, which is where people say, I don't go to church, I don't believe in God, but I'm still a Catholic, you know? The bridge, he fancies himself as a bit of a writer or a poet, and he looks down the River Liffey at all these buildings and said that the scruffy buildings facing the River Liffey looked like tramps wearing their long coats, waiting to shake themselves clean and walk away from the river. Just thought that perfectly captured this scruffy old Georgian Dublin, you know? Well, lots of the great big buildings in Dublin were built during this Georgian period. The front of Trinity College as we know it now, the forecourts, all these big old central bank, which we'll see now in about 10 minutes time. Lots of neoclassical architecture with the big pillars kind of throwback to the Roman and Greek styles of building. But anyway, the reason I've stopped exactly here is because of this building, or this bridge here. This is the Halfpenny Bridge, and it's the most famous bridge across the River Liffey. It's also one of the oldest. It was built in 1816 by a man called William Walsh. Now, before this bridge was built, if you wanted to get across the river, you had to get a boat. William Walsh had a series of small ferries, and he would charge you half a penny to do so. It's so shit, it's so crap, we're all like, fucking stupid thing. Another selling point that they had was that you'd never have to wash it, they said. You'll never have to clean this monument. It'll be a self-cleaning monument. It will, the rain will clean this monument, and we thought, well, fuck it, we've loads of that. That sounds brilliant. Irish people, the Irish taxpayer, now spend every year €1.4 million cleaning the Millennium Spire. We're the most well-fed cleaners in all of Ireland. How do you manage to get that kind of bill? Like, you know what I mean? Oh, they have a crane and a winch and all sorts of things. It's not like hole inside. No, you can't walk up. There's no like brilliant observation plaque where you can look around Dublin or anything. It's just a pole. That's all it is, it's just a pole. So just while you're here in Dublin, if you hear anyone, because it's got a couple of nicknames, right? So if you hear anyone use any of these nicknames, they're talking about the spire. If you hear someone say the pole in the hole, they're talking about the spire. If someone says the stiletto in the ghetto, they're talking about the spire. If someone says the stiffy near the liffey, they're talking about the spire. If someone says the erection at the intersection, they're talking about the spire. Okay? Dublin people like to do this, give these things nicknames,
Just opposite the spire, you've got the James Joyce statue, very famous Irish writer of Ulysses, Dubliners, Portrait of the Artist, The Young Man, Finnegan's Wake, all of these books. Ulysses, which is popularly regarded as one of the best books ever committed to the English language. James Joyce is leaning back on his trademark walking stick. Dublin people call him the prick with the stick.
I don't know if you can see that. That's the spire he's talking about. It looks like a fucking flagpole to me, but you know, whatever. It's not even a spire, it's just a fucking line. It's cool though, whatever.
Army and say, what do I get, like a sword or a spear and a harp? So like, you know, you can imagine the other army as well going out and kill that fucking dope with the harp and everything. So you can go in and see Brian Boru's harp inside. This is where the harp comes from in Irish symbolism and Irish iconography. Another weird story about that actually, the Guinness family, obviously Guinness, the harp is the symbol of Guinness. Guinness had the harp before Ireland had the harp as their national, because Ireland didn't have its own sort of self-elected, self-appointed, chosen national symbol until 1922 when it became a free state. And the Irish government went to Guinness and said, can we use the harp as our national symbol? And Guinness said, no. So they just took the Guinness harp and flipped it.
Wow.
So if you see the harp facing this way, it's Guinness. If it's facing that way, it's the Irish state, right? I got one here somewhere. You'll see on all the coins and everything. Now, so you can see Brian Boru's harp. The Book of Kells is 364 pages long, and I mean it's an amazing book, a beautiful book written in the 9th century by monks on Lindisfarne, which is an island just off the north of Scotland. But it's found in Kells in the 12th century. They buried it to stop thieves from getting to it, but thieves did get to it, and they pulled the front cover off. It's a big gold cover, took the first and last pages with it. So it's 364 pages long now in its current state, and they turn a new page every day. So if you've got a whole year and just over €4,000, you can see the whole book, right? Someone who went to college here, all of these changes came about under the terms of the first ever female president of Ireland, who was a woman called Mary Robinson. She's later gone on to be an MEP, a member of the European Parliament and everything. And she's a great feminist and a great campaigner for women's rights. In the 1970s, 1976, when contraception was still illegal in Ireland, she and a group of her friends would get trains up to Belfast, which is a different country, remember, as of 1922 on. It's got a different government, different laws. Contraception was legal up there. They would buy lots of condoms and then get the train back to Dublin. When they're pulling into the train station here in Dublin, Connolly Station, they're coming along the train tracks and they're waving inflated condoms out the windows and they're throwing condoms out the windows of the train. It's like raining sexual liberation in Dublin. People would go to catch the condom train. So you're running alongside this fucking... Imagine your poor mother's face as you're running alongside the condom train. Now, in 1980, the then Taoiseach of Ireland, who was the Prime Minister of Ireland, passed a law that as an act of safe family planning, married people could buy condoms. So between 1980 and 1993, if you wanted a condom in Ireland, you would go to a doctor, produce your marriage certificate. The doctor would give you a prescription which you would take to a chemist or a pharmacist, produce your marriage certificate and prescription, and he would give you a condom. Make it count, lads. One condom.
Oh.
So like, that gets more serious when you think that that's through the 1980s. That's through the AIDS epidemic. Right? In 1986, the Catholic Church distributed pamphlets in Ireland entitled 68 Ways as to how condoms help to spread AIDS. That's pretty bad. Remember when I said the Catholic Church did a lot of good in Ireland? You need that shit to try to form some sort of unbiased, non-judgmental opinion of them in this country, I suppose. In 1993, you know Richard Branson, Virgin Media, Virgin Airlines, Virgin Broadband, all of that stuff. Richard Branson, in response to the AIDS epidemic, started to give away free condoms in some of his shops. And he did this in Dublin. A shop he had just along the River Liffey there, 5-minute walk from here. So there's uproar among conservative Catholic sectors of Irish society because these condoms are still illegal for non-married people to buy. And what you've got is people going to Virgin Megastores, pretending to look at a CD, and then like fucking stuffing their pockets full of condoms and running home with trousers on fire. So Richard Branson himself has to be summoned to Dublin where he attends a court case. Now with the threat of EU intervention and with pretty widespread international media coverage and general ridicule, people going, look how fucking backwards Ireland is. The Irish government just kind of went, they're legal. And that's how condoms became legal in Ireland. And it's in 1993. And we all know what happened next, of course. Irish society came apart at the seams and descended into one giant protected orgy. Now, I'm going to finish on a positive note, because as I mentioned earlier on in the tour, Ireland has come a long way from being the conservative Catholic state that it was up until 25 years ago. I've already mentioned that homosexuality was made legal in Ireland in 1995. Well, in a mere 20 years, the country has come a long way and become a more secular, forward-thinking, inclusive nation. Something that I personally, as a 26-year-old living in Dublin, I'm proud of. To be part of a society that's not as repressive as it used to be and all that kind of thing. On the 25th of May last year, 2015, Ireland became the first country in the entire world to legalise by popular vote same-sex marriage, gay marriage. So that's quite a leap to make in 20 years, you know. And I personally think that's a positive note to end the tour on.
Like, you know what? I'm only going to eat American food. Like, this is like, seems like.
I understand. I don't go to fucking Italy or France to eat Irish food.
Right, exactly.
Well, I did once do that. We went to Italy, we were playing a band and we were touring in Italy and we were excited. I'm going to fucking eat Italian food in Italy. We got there, they had stew, bacon and cabbage. It was a fucking Irish festival. We were
Yeah, dude, I'm saying, like, so I had this American food yesterday and I fucking, like,
Where was it? Can you remember?
I can't even remember, man. And, like, my fucking stomach is killing me, man. Just, like, don't fucking do it, man. Don't do it. I'm warning you right now. Just fucking stay away.
So see here, this next major right-hand turn with the grey place with the lights outside, that's Parliament Street, and Zaytoun is on Parliament Street. Man, I would definitely.
Dude, he is the best.
It's a bit of an institution.
He is the best tour guide ever. We're not even on the tour. He's like it's like a food tour now.
You asked the right person for that. So like you've got KC Peaches here. This is a pretty healthy place and, you know, reasonably priced.